What is going on, everybody? Welcome back. RG today, day after Thanksgiving. Hopefully, everyone had a good Thanksgiving, or hopefully the Canadians who weren't celebrating enjoyed the day of football. We're here talking some football. We got a Black Friday showdown that we'll touch on a little bit. We'll talk the main slate a little bit. I might throw in some NBA chat at the end as well. But Bobby, how was your Thanksgiving? How you feeling?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Turkey was good. Stuffing was better. My lineups, I had that one team on DK that pretty much won every tournament. But I didn't have it in the right contest. Like I only had it, I think I had a 10K to first or whatever. So I won that one, but I ended up losing like 1,000 on the day because I just didn't get it into anything else. So I would have won the Wildcat. I think I would have split it with like Papa Gates. It was like second in the Millie, second in the Thanksgiving special. And I had it in like the worst possible contest it could be in, so that kind of sucks. But
Yeah, I was at the Lions game yesterday, so I just did one lineup, and I built it last night and like this morning before I went down there. But in downtown Detroit, you got like they do this turkey trot thing, and they have the big ass parade, so it's like a shit show getting down there. So we were down there super early. I think we were in Detroit by like 9:30, in the stadium by like 11. So didn't really like do a ton of lineup building. Just had the one lineup, and after the first game, I was feeling pretty good. I didn't have Gibbs or Amon-Ra, had Jameson and Montgomery, and then I had Christian Watson. So it was kind of funny being a Lions fan there. And then Watson catches the 50-yard touchdown, and you're like, oh no, dang it, that really sucks. But then you're like, kind of excited about it because he's in a lineup of yours. But yeah, Thanksgiving was pretty good here as well. How are we feeling about this showdown slate? Obviously, now we get to the point of the season where the NFL starts doing some weird scheduling stuff. I think next week or the week after that, we start the Saturday slates. Obviously, we have a random Friday afternoon slate today. Should be a decent game here. Have you looked at this slate at all, the Friday game? And how are you feeling about that if you have?
yeah, I'm just building my teams now. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, I can. I'm going to touch on, I guess, surface level stuff here. I have a couple bets in scores and odds for this Friday game, so I guess I'm just going to give those out real quick because a couple bets that I really like for this game. Yesterday, went 2-0 on NFL plays. The night before that, went 3-0 on NBA plays. So feeling pretty good about the prop stuff right now. So I'll give out a NFL prop real quick, and then at the end, I'll give out another one. I'm going to Saquon Barkley. I know this guy has been super disappointing all year long. Poor offensive line play. I know he's been dealing with a little bit of a groin issue that's maybe been lingering, maybe not. He got a little roughed up in the Giants game where he had the massive 160-yard game. Didn't play the fourth quarter of that game because of that groin problem. He's been on and off the injury report, mostly just limited, so I don't think it's anything too serious. But I like him a lot in this spot. I'm taking the over 100.5 yards, rushing and receiving. Best line for that is on FanDuel. If you have access to Hard Rock or 365, you can actually get it at 99.5. But I like this number quite a bit. We saw the Bears get absolutely crushed by running backs last week. They're dealing with a ton of injuries. I think they're missing 3 of their front 7. So I think it's all 3 linebackers. So absolutely decimated in their front 7. So it should be, prime Saquon time here. I know, again, he's been bad, but it just smells like Saquon, right? You're going to be outdoors, a little bit colder, some winds. I think that just makes a lot of sense to either find him ways to get involved on the ground or get involved in the short passing game situations. Over the past few weeks, we've seen a lot of A.J. Brown complaints. He comes back with 2 big games. I think it's time that they get Saquon more involved. They're going to need him throughout the stretch run of the season and into the playoffs. So I think it's time they get him going here. Great spot to do so against the Bears at home. So that's my first NFL bet. Bobby, any thoughts on that one?
I think Saquon needs to get going. Like they kind of force fed AJ Brown, so it would make sense that they'd try to get the running game going. We're the week after Thanksgiving. This is Thanksgiving week. Pretty much football starts right now, right? Like all those games yesterday were playoff games, in my opinion. They're must wins for pretty much every single team. I feel like the Eagles are in a similar situation where like their season's they've been great, but they haven't kind of lived up to what we've expected from that team. So like to get their main offensive piece going in this game would make a good bit of sense. Yeah, I'm pretty much in agreement. I like the Saquon call.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there. I think they need to get him going, and I think this is just the perfect spot. I will say though, from an ownership perspective, right now in this showdown slate, I'll pull up lineup HQ. We're seeing a lot of ownership on him. Obviously, him and Hurts are usually going to be the guys. As much as I like Saquon, I think from a tournament perspective, you can certainly get away with maybe chasing AJ Brown in the captain spot, even Devonta Smith. I usually like on these Eagles slates, but again, I do think from an optimal build standpoint, Saquon probably the guy that I'm looking at here. I know you've been doing pretty well in the showdown streets. Do you have any general thoughts on either builds or how you go about showdown slates or anything like that here?
Yeah, so for me, like I try to think how the field's playing the slate. And then I'm probably gonna think about how I would play the slate. And then I'm gonna think about like the middle between the two of those situations. Like just basically I want to see what we have for ownership on Saquon on this slate. Let me pull it up quick.
Yeah, it looks like 25% in the captain and then 50% in the flex.
Yeah, so he's probably going to be pretty heavily owned. Like me, usually in a situation like this, unless he projects really well, and my builds are being very slow right now, which I would imagine he does. Seems like a lot of the field's going to get there, and in a situation like that, I'd probably take an underweight stance and play the passing game. But I think it's important to keep in mind that they kind of got the passing game going last week, and this Eagles team keeps like flipping back and forth between what they want to do. From an offensive perspective. So I don't know. I'm letting my yeah, I could see myself like being more heavy to the Hurts, like not necessarily just Hurts and like if the field's gonna get to Saquon, I'd probably field Saquon and just play the Hurts in the side of like him scoring a rushing touchdown that kind of hurts the Saquon ownership. And then getting to some of the passing game, but not as much AJ Brown and Devonta Smith as like usual, because I think I want to play the Caleb side and like Dunze, DJ Moore. These guys are going to be lower owned that I can kind of get over on as well. So I like the Bears passing game and basically like Hurts getting it done with his feet pretty much. And then I'll just field chalk Saquon. My stuff just kind of ran. So
yeah, I think that's fair. I think you can also, build around Hurts and not necessarily the entire passing game, and that still be sort of a way to get different off of Saquon, because again, like you could get Eagles down to the 1 or 2 yard line 2 or 3 times, and that's Hurts, not Barkley. So that's
so frustrating for Saquon, by the way.
Yeah.
He's very unselfish in offense with like everyone being like having incredible egos. So I kind of feel bad for him in that regard. Like just they should be handing the ball off. But
yeah, I certainly think if he had a little bit different of a personality, he would be finding himself getting the ball more. But yeah, like you mentioned, he's always been that way.
If he had AJ Brown's personality, he would not be able to handle it, right?
Agreed. Yeah. Or the team would just have to suffer. I mean, the AJ Brown stuff can certainly get frustrating just from like a viewer standpoint. But let's talk about a couple like ancillary plays. Obviously, you can build around Saquon or Hurts in the passing game. Obviously, AJ Brown's a strong option. You have Dallas Goedert there. You have Devonta Smith. But let's talk about some of the other maybe standalone plays, maybe the guys less popular, and then we'll get to the main slate. For me, Luther Burden is a guy that I'm looking at quite a bit. 3.8. Obviously, he's a guy who can go out there and make a big play down the field, that's sort of where he's going to get a large chunk of his production if he is going to produce like that. Obviously, Rome and DJ Moore both here, so he's going to be the wide receiver 3 in this case, but he's certainly one of the more prime candidates to catch a deep ball. I don't mind DJ Moore as well. Obviously, he's coming off of the big game, but I think just with the savings involved there, slight edge to Luther Burden, and then Devonta Smith. I like him again as well. He's a guy that I typically like on these showdown slates when the Eagles are on it, just because I feel like everyone wants to play Saquon, everyone wants to play AJ Brown, but it's been a very clear case where you see a little bit back and forth between these Eagles guys. When a team likes to play man, it's usually AJ Brown, and when a team likes to play zone, that's usually when Devonta Smith flourishes. They're a pretty 50-50 team, but for the most part, slight edge to Devonta Smith based on the coverage stuff. So for you, give me like 2 or 3 plays that you like quite a bit here.
Yeah, I'm with you on Smith. Like, he'd be my favorite pass catcher from the Eagles just because, like, AJ Brown had the big week last week. Like I said, like, they're kind of like a carousel in terms of, like, they're trying to get this one involved to appease him, and then this one involved to appease him. Smith's a little bit lower on in the captain than AJ. I think I'd probably be with the field with both, but a little higher on Smith. Like the Burden call, more of a flex play for me, but I get you could definitely play him in the captain just because of his upside. My favorite ancillary captain, or just a guy that outside of like AJ Hurts, Saquon, Jalen Hurts, Saquon, and Caleb would probably be Rome Odunze. Like, I like the passing game for the Bears here. Like, if people aren't going to play that, and they're going to like go to the Eagles defense a good bit, and I guess it's usually on a home game for Philly, like their defense will be a little bit chalky. So yeah, I could play the Caleb in the passing game because they're obviously going to be trailing. A lot of that volume is going to go to guys like Burden, Odunze. I prefer Odunze, but Burden's very good as well. DJ Moore is the one that kind of gets lost. I would rather play Burden than DJ Moore and get that savings and just pick between DJ Moore and Odunze. I just think Odunze is the better player. I know DJ Moore had a good week last week, but Odunze seems like the guy who gets the majority of like the favoritism from Caleb. I like Caleb a good bit also. Yeah, Caleb seems like a very good play. Like, if Caleb's going to be super low on, what do we have for Caleb's captain ownership? Do you have it there currently? You're muted. You're muted. Sorry, Kyle.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah, pretty low, 2.5% for Caleb.
Yeah, that's like a really good reason to play the passing game for the Bears. Just like, it's easy to get over on, right? And it's easy to get over on Odunze. It's obviously the way that it's the contrarian way to play the slate. Like, yeah, I would easily play that side.
Yeah, and I think it makes sense too because Philly's run defense has been pretty good. Top 11 or 12 in terms of run defense, and Bears 7-point underdogs here. So could easily be a spot where the game script is calling for that as well as like what the defense is giving them. So could easily see a lot of volume for the Chicago passing game. So yeah, I like that call quite a bit. And then there's obviously it might be a little bit annoying, like if you're looking to roster 2 or 3 of these Bears players, and like let's say you play DJ Moore in Rome, but then it ends up being Colson Loveland or Luther Burden. It could get a little bit annoying there because they do have not the most concentrated passing tree there, but you have options as well. So I think there's a lot of different ways you can build. Any interest in the Bears running backs, Swift or Monangai? Obviously, they've been splitting it pretty evenly over the last few weeks. Monangai looks to be the favorite around the goal line. I would say Swift is probably still the more explosive and dynamic player of the two. Any preferences between those two?
I think I would lean probably I like the Bears running game. I don't think the Bears running game is going to be great today. I'd probably take the savings with Monangai. Getting over on like that low ownership and Swift. Not really sure what I want to do with Swift. Like, I don't know. I guess you could play the running game. I'd probably lean more to the pass. I'd probably be under on Swift for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think I would also give the slight edge to Monangai. I just think he's more likely to score a touchdown and a little bit cheaper. Alex in the chat asked, trying to figure out, I'm guessing this is season long, Alec Pierce or DJ Moore. For me, I'm a little worried about the Colts here with the Daniel Jones news of him playing with a fractured fibula. That's a little scary, not going to lie, but I still think I'm going to take Alec Pierce in this spot. DJ Moore, I think he's fine on this showdown slate, but in the grand scheme of things, a lot of mouths to feed there. I think the median outcome for Moore is not all that exciting. So I'll give the slight edge to Alec Pierce there. If you have a different opinion, let me know. Otherwise, let's hop over to the main slate here. Obviously, coming off the holiday, we're going to do a little bit of a shorter show here, especially with the discussion on the showdown slate there. So we're going to talk just stacks, and then we'll go through just to give a couple plays at each of the running back, receiver, tight end position, and then we're going to get on out of here after. Maybe I'll give an NBA bet or two. So let's talk about this main slate on Sunday. Obviously, going to start here with stacks. Going to be a smaller slate, right? We have the 3 Thursday games. We have the Friday game. So it's a little bit of a smaller slate, which I actually don't mind. I don't know your thoughts on slate sizes. For me, I feel like there's always a sweet spot, like in the NBA and even MLB, where like I don't want a 2 or 3 game slate, but I don't love like the 11 or 12 game slates. We don't get those as much in the NBA now that they're like cutting off the night games. But I think this is a pretty good size slate. So what are your thoughts on slate sizes? And then let's jump into some of our favorite stacks.
Yeah, how many games are on this? I like the smaller NFL slates for what it's worth. Like,
yeah, 10 game slate, main slate.
Yeah, that's a good main slate. I want to see what the contests look like. I haven't even really checked out the contests. Yeah, 10 game main. Did you like the Thanksgiving Day, like the $5 milli, the 4K milli? I feel like the contests were I wasn't a fan of how the contest structure.
I didn't look too deeply into it because I knew I wasn't going to be playing a ton because I knew I was going to be like in Ford Field. I don't even really have service, so I just did one lineup. So I didn't look too much. I just did a couple single entry contests and called it a day.
Yeah, I didn't love the contest on Thanksgiving. But yeah, no, 10 games is good. Looks like it's the regular $20 milli, 555 milli, just regular contest entries. Yeah, interesting slate, I guess. Do you have any thoughts originally before we kick it off or whatever?
I mean, I think it's interesting from a quarterback perspective, and I think it's interesting because it's ugly. I mean, yesterday we had Mahomes, Lamar, Dak, Burrow. So like just a ton of guys that you're typically excited to roster. Now they're off the board, and then Friday you have Jalen Hurts, even Caleb Williams. So a lot of elite quarterbacks off the slate here. Even Drake May is a guy that we've looped into that conversation. Jackson Dart, those guys play Monday night. So yeah, it's definitely an interesting quarterback slate because I do think it is fairly ugly. I will say this week, I think you can sort of take it two ways. Like, okay, let's spend up a little bit for a guy that we know we can get some elite production from, or hope that the one or two there's really only 2, maybe 3 if you want to throw Stafford in there, like elite fantasy producers on this slate. So if you fade those 2 guys or 3, and you avoid those 3 bullets, you can really make a case for having all the options in the world to save salary. I do think this is a slam dunk spot here for Josh Allen, coming off of the back-to-back losses. Pittsburgh's defense has not been good. They have really struggled. They play a lot of man as well, so they've also struggled with rushing quarterbacks and scrambling quarterbacks. So I think it's a really good spot for Josh Allen. So he would be the one I'd be most afraid of fading here in this spot, and he's my favorite quarterback of the week. But I think if you were to go away from him, you have a handful of options to really get different and save a lot of salary, allow yourself to spend up elsewhere. But that's kind of where I would be starting. It's more so for me to Josh Allen or to not Josh Allen. And if I don't play Josh Allen, you have a few guys down here in the salary saving range that I think are pretty interesting. Got you on mute.
Yeah, my kid came in the room. I'm working in a room, like my house. I'm at my mom's, and there are no doors, so my kid just can wander around. And yeah, he ended up coming in here, and I had to turn on mute. But yeah, Allen at 13% ownership versus Pittsburgh. I think that's warranted, right?
Yeah.
He gets Kincaid back this week, correct?
Kincaid technically still questionable, but it does look like he has a really good chance to play.
Yeah, I like the fact that like it's optimistic for him, I guess.
Yeah.
Sam Darnold in a revenge game at 5.6 on DK, I think looks pretty good, especially throwing to JSN. And like, I think a lot of these defenses, forget the OC's name, Flores for Minnesota. Like he gives a lot of QBs trouble, but it's nice to get a guy who's probably pretty familiar with him in Darnold, who practiced against him pretty much all year. So I don't really mind that. I feel like it's a little revenge spot there, and I think JSN is in a really good spot as well. Just trying to think through. Achan, we're talking just QBs currently. Who else do I like? I could play Trevor Lawrence at 5.4 versus Tennessee. Like Tennessee hasn't been able to stop anyone. Who I'm like tagging it with. I played Myers last week. I have no idea why, because he has no upside, and I kind of really regretted it after the slate. Trying to figure out who I'm gonna go to with Lawrence will be a question this week, but at 5.4, like Parker Washington, I think is fine. Just think of his stacking partners that are actually viable. I don't really want to play Myers again. When does Brian Thomas come back? Is he done for the year? What's his situation?
No, he's back this week. He was off the injury report as of yesterday, so full practice yesterday, which is pretty encouraging. So he'll be back.
Well, he needs to get going at some point this year. So versus Tennessee's a pretty good spot if he's coming back off the injury report. If he's a full go, I'd probably be interested in him. Yeah, QB is pretty there. This is not a great QB slate. Jacoby Brissett's going to be in our lives again versus Tampa at 5.8. Michael Wilson seems to be like emerging there. What's the situation with? It's tough to like do this and figure out who's viable before we get like injury reports, but Michael Wilson again might be pretty joggy at 5.9. I'd probably be looking to fade on this slate just because I played him for 3 weeks in a row and I'm just waiting for the bust to happen, but it seems to be pretty good in that spot, so I don't know. I do like Brissett to McBride, who I feel like will be popular again. You have any thoughts on QBs and stacks at all?
Yeah, I do like the Brissett call quite a bit. I almost would maybe even prefer the Brissett stack more if Marvin Harrison doesn't play. It seems like he has a good chance to play at least. He's been, limited the past 2 days of practice. I haven't seen anything about his status today, but they did rule out a few guys, including Trey Benson, for this slate, but they didn't rule out Marvin Harrison yet. So it sounds like he has a pretty good chance to play, return from that appendix issue. So if he sits, I would actually probably like the stack more because then I feel like I can just feel really good about the production between Michael Wilson and Trey McBride. So I like the Brissett call. I love the Trevor Lawrence call. I think this is a great spot for him. I think, those few weeks off, obviously it's been a bad year for Brian Thomas, but I do think those few weeks off could potentially be, right time for him to maybe come back and have a little bit of a mini breakout to end the year. He was so dominant last year, especially at the end of the year. And this is a great matchup for him. You do have to worry about maybe there being a little bit more of a target share issue with Washington also playing really well and obviously Jacoby Myers getting involved, but I do like Brian Thomas and therefore Trevor Lawrence as well. So for me, Josh Allen, Brissett, Trevor Lawrence, those guys are typically going to be my favorite options. There are a couple, sneaky value options at quarterback, I suppose. I mean, maybe you can make a case for Teddy Bridgewater with how cheap he is. I think I would prefer to chase somebody with a little bit higher upside.
I cannot play Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, I do worry a little bit about the upside.
There's like an injury risk there too. Like every time he gets hit, he might be out of the game.
Yeah,
every time.
That's fair as well. But again, I think you can really open up some ugly names in this spot just because, again, like if you play just a cheap quarterback who gets you like 16 or 17, and then you open up all this spend up options. There's a lot of elite spend up options at both running back and receiver, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But if you find a way to, make do at the quarterback position, spending all the way down, and then you get a couple of busts from some of these top spend up options, you can put yourself in a really good spot. So the couple names that I would be looking at the bottom of the board would be CJ Stroud here. I know he also has been bad, but again, in the dome against the Colts, 20.5 implied team total for Houston is better than what we're seeing for some of these other teams that we're going to talk about. So I don't mind that. And then plug your nose, but this one's gross. Tyler Shuck at 4-4. I know Chris Olave has been dealing with some stuff health-wise with, I think, a back spasm or something like that, but great matchup here against Miami. Tyler Shuck has shown a little bit of mobility as well. So at 4-4, he's probably the ugly, gross stack that I'm looking at with the Saints there.
Yeah, I think Shuck's probably better than the public's going to give him credit for because I like Shuck too at 4-4. Interesting name that you said. Like, first the Dolphins, nice Achane run back. You can run back Waddle. It's super condensed on the other side, right?
Yep.
Which is something we look for. So, yeah, I like the Shook call, and it's super condensed on the Saints side. Like, Olave is really Jawan Johnson. Yeah, like I like the Shook call. I don't even know who their secondary receivers are at this point with Shaheed Gunn. I have no clue.
Yeah, it'd be like Mason Tipton, that kind of stuff. The only thing I do slightly worry about is, as weird as it sounds, with Kamara out, you would think that would be a good thing for Shuck. Maybe they're going to throw more, which could be possible. But they could also just start doing some weird shit with Taysom Hill, and he ends up playing some quarterback, which is always annoying. I know Taysom Hill had like 10 carries for like 30 yards or something like that last game, and he had a 25-yard carry, but.
You play Shook and Taysom, right?
I'm pretty sure Taysom is tight end. Let me double check, but he should be.
Yeah, he's tight end, 2,700. Like, I'd probably play Taysom this week.
Yeah, like he's certainly in play. Which
for sure playing Taysom. If Kamara's out, they have Devin Neal there. Like, Taysom's definitely getting a goal line carry, right?
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, he will for sure be the goal line option, which is unfortunate because they don't really give him normal handoffs. So that takes Shuck out of the equation in those situations, which is annoying if you're playing Shuck. But again, I think that the rest looks pretty good for Shuck. Let's hop over to running back. We'll do, we'll say 2 to 3 of our favorite plays at running back, receiver, and then tight end. And then I'll give out one more NFL play, and then we're gonna get out of here. So 2 to 3 names at the running back position. Who do you got?
Achane for sure. Really like Achane. 1 second. Achane. James Cook at 7,600. I think it's interesting to get to him off of Allen if you want to do that. Allen 7,500. No one's going to play Cook, I would imagine, or he's going to be. It's just a weird way to play the Bills. He might be owned, but still, I still like Cook. The other guy I would have interest in. I tried to make Bijan work last week and he didn't work, but he gets the Jets this week, and I could be full go with Bijan. Those would probably be my 3 favorite running backs. How about you?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm going to Achane as a spend up option. I know it's tough to take anybody over Jonathan Taylor, but Taylor has a really tough matchup and he's really expensive. But I'm going to go Achane there as my favorite spend up. Breece Hall here at 6K. I know he fumbled again last week, but they don't seem to care.
They don't care about anything, that team. So
yeah, so they just keep going back to him, which I can't really say I hate, like, yeah, I mean, you're the Jets. Like, fumbles are gonna happen, especially when you're the New York Jets, but he's just so explosive, right? Last week he had 4 catches for 75 yards, 16 carries for 44 yards. So even when he's not getting it done on the ground, he is upside to get it done through the air. So Breece Hall would be pick number 2 for me. And then I think depending on the health in that Chargers game, we'll have to see how the Hampton news shakes out. I don't know if we got an update yesterday. I didn't see that. But if Adall's back under center or, back as the running back behind Herbert, I think he could be in for a really good bounce back spot against this Raiders team with the Chargers sort of in command of that game. Duneasy asked, are we going to touch on the Bears-Eagles game? We touched on that at the top. So, if you go back to the beginning of the show, we touched on them. So there you go. For those of you who are looking for that, we read your mind, talked about it at the top there. So let's go to receiver now. Give me 2 to 3 names that you're loving for this week at the receiver position.
Yeah, JSN for one. I think it's good. I'm not a big revenge guy, but I think it's a good revenge spot for Sam Darnold, and JSN would be on the other end of that. So like JSN a good bit. Michael Wilson at 5'9", like hopefully Marvin Harrison's out. We don't have that news currently. I would be fine with him. And then Jalen Waddle, like we talked about with Miami, they're super condensed. So that game is going to be very popular just because you have those two guys that command so much usage on one side. And then you have the Saints, which you get a cheap quarterback and another condensed offense, should play pretty fast. So, yeah, those are my 3 receivers that I like the best on the slate.
Yep, I pretty much agree. I mean, Michael Wilson there, especially if Harrison's out. I know, Don Yeezy's mentioning if Marvin's back, he's going to get more involved regardless. But you still have to worry about it, right? Like, it's a spot where, if Baker's out and maybe we see less play volume there for Arizona, they should be throwing the ball quite a bit because they don't really have any running backs. But he's still there, a guy that is added to the equation that is potentially taking targets away from Wilson. But I will say Brissett clearly likes Wilson quite a bit. So if Harrison's out, I think Wilson's a slam dunk play, though. I like Jaden Higgins quite a bit at 3.9. I know I touched on CJ Stroud a little bit, but Higgins is one of my favorite value plays of the week. He had 9 targets last week and then 7 in each game prior to that, dating back to the 9th of November. So the last 3 weeks, 7, 9 targets, scored 2 touchdowns in that stretch as well. Love Higgins in this spot. And I like the Stroud, Nico, Higgins stack quite a bit in this one. And then my third name is also going to match up with you, Jalen Waddle. Love him in this spot. I think this is a great chance for him to have a big game against a Saints secondary that has been weak. For tight ends, give me a couple options here. Tight end, where are you looking?
Yeah, tight end. Trey McBride, pretty obvious. Like, I think he's someone I want to get to. Yeah, he's been chalked and his price has come up significantly, but he's still like a fine for me. Aronde Gadsden at 4,300. We've seen just basically him be more involved in this offense over the last 6 weeks. 4,300, I'm fine getting to him as well. I might go to, I know this is going to sound a little off, I guess, in terms of like a player that isn't really going to be as popular. Well, actually, he is going to be popular. I didn't realize that. Just with 2 tight ends, I don't know if he should be popular because they do use 2 tight ends, but AJ Barner, I didn't realize he's going to be 18% owned, like 3,200. Tasha Darnold. I like Darnold stacks, like I said, so that's weird. I didn't realize. Well, I guess with that price tag, it makes sense that he's getting that much ownership. But yeah, AJ Barner is my third tight end.
Yeah, we got Barner at 5%, so maybe
I think that's going to come up.
Yeah, maybe it'll kind of meet in the middle there a bit. But 18% would be a little bit surprising for me. I like the Gadsden call. I think this is a good spot for him. Obviously, off the bye, give him a chance to heal up from that quad bruise a little bit. So I do like him in this spot. Dalton Schultz I like as well. Probably only like him in CJ Stroud lineups like a ton. I think you can get away with it outside of that, but probably really like him more so in Stroud lineups. Tyler Warren there at 5.2, and then last name as a value option, Kyle Pitts with no Drake London once again. That's going to do it for the tight end spot. And we're not going to talk about defense because that's boring. And also, I feel like I just kind of play what fits there. But if you have a defense, feel free to throw it out. I'm going to give out an NFL play, though. I'm taking Dallas Goedert over 34.5 receiving yards in this Friday game. Super windy in Philly. Should be looking for lots of checkdowns there for Goddard, and the Bears have been good. A good matchup for tight end. J3 says he wants defense talk. J3, you're gonna have to subscribe to Kirk D's VIP Discord to get defense talk. That's where you can find that.
That's where you can find everything and season-long plays as well.
Yeah, but you got to ask him at like 12:54 on Eastern time on Sundays.
He called me the other day on the show to get a defensive play, and I was like watching Iron Man with my kid, and I'm like, is this really he was on a call just because of that bit, like the defense, body defense or whatever. And I was just like, oh, you got me. Shoot. I like the Goddard call a lot. I'm gonna go Odunze over 100 yards and a touchdown. That'll be my favorite play.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, there we go. Now the people know. All right, well, that's gonna do it for us. Hopefully, you guys all had a good Thanksgiving holiday, and hopefully, you have a good Black Friday. Don't do any crazy stuff if you're going out there shopping. I hear too many stories of people getting ran over in stores. Too much online shopping is available for us to be doing that.
I know. I don't get the point of like Black Friday. Like, why would you go out? You can just order on Amazon or whatever, right? Or any website that's
I remember back in the day, my parents would go out shopping on like at night on Thanksgiving. I'm like, you guys are insane. And then they'd hear horror stories about people getting into fights over like these toys. But nowadays, like these big companies, they even offer the Black Friday deals online on Friday and Wednesday and Thursday. And then you have the Cyber Monday as well. So yeah, hopefully everyone's taking advantage of that. But that is going to do it for us. We'll see you guys next time. Until then, good luck, everybody.